Hi, welcome to Canada Loves Apple. Today we're going to learn how to find podcasts on the iTunes Store and how to synchronize them onto your iPod or your iPhone. So let's get started by launching iTunes, and from there let's select iTunes Store. Now there are thousands of podcasts to choose from, and the majority of them are free, and it's really an amazing resource of information. Certainly you will find something that interests you. I'm very interested in finding some CBC material, so I'm just going to start by clicking on, in the search bar, CBC podcasts. Okay, right away we're presented with a list of some of the more popular ones. But I know there's a CBC channel, so I'm going to try and get that. So let's go here. Here we are. Here's the CBC channel in iTunes. Now, as you can see, pretty well all their most popular shows, in fact, all their shows probably have a podcast associated with them. For the purposes of this demonstration, I will choose Dispatches. All right, let's just click on it. And here we go. Let's click on Subscribe Free. And if we look over on the left under the store here downloads. Here it is, it's downloading. Give that a minute. Okay, it's now fully downloaded. So if we go back to our library, click on podcasts, you're now presented with the list of podcasts that you're subscribed to. So we just subscribed to Dispatches, and here it is. All right, now let's talk about how to add and remove content. So currently with my iPod, I have it set that I have to manually manage my podcasts. That means I have to select my podcast from my main library and then drag them onto my iPod. Once I've listened to them, I have to manually delete them. And I would do that by right-clicking on one of them and selecting Delete. If I wanted to add one, just go back to Podcasts, drag it back down. And there it is. Now that I have some podcasts on my iPod, let's take a moment to explore the interface. So as you can see, I have a handful of podcasts here. Some of them are indicated or flagged with a half blue, half white dot. This one and Spark don't have a dot at all. And then Pad Pundit has a solid blue dot. Well, basically this dot here, half blue, half white, indicates that I've started listening to this podcast. Theoretically, the next time that I launch that podcast on my iPod, it should start from where I left off. You'll notice here, Definitely Not the Opera has no dot at all, nor does Spark. That simply means I've listened to that podcast from start to finish. And finally, Pad Pundit is flagged with a solid blue dot. That means it's a brand new podcast that is yet to be listened to. If you'd like to add some automation to managing your podcasts, select click on the name of your device, go to the Podcast tab, select Sync Podcasts. Just be forewarned that by clicking on Sync Podcasts, you will be prompted with a warning explaining that all prior podcasts on your device will be deleted. So if that's fine, just click on Sync Podcasts, and then you can customize these settings here. Automatically include all unplayed episodes of, let's choose selected podcasts. So let's go with Dispatches, and let's go with Pad Pundit, and just click on Apply. And if we go back to our podcasts, there we go. There they are. So I've shown you how to find and subscribe to podcasts in iTunes. and I've shown you how to synchronize them with your device. Now I'll show you how to refresh your podcasts. Each podcast has its own default settings, and if you select, let's say, dispatches, and then if we click on settings, you can see that iTunes will actually check for new episodes every day. And if you feel that you want to change any of that, change the default settings, that's fine. I'm just going to leave it at the default. And you can do that for each and every one. To force iTunes to go and check for new content, simply click on the refresh button. And here we go. So it's downloading a podcast now. If you do decide to unsubscribe from a podcast, it's quite simple. Simply find the podcast that you're no longer interested in. Let's say the Ricky Gervais podcast, and you can simply right-click and choose unsubscribe. And if you prefer, you can simply delete the podcast and all its files. Again, just right-click or control-click, delete, and there you go. It's gone. And finally, let's just, one more thing I wanted to mention here on the interface. If you notice with this particular podcast, Izzy Video Members, you'll see that there's an exclamation mark. The exclamation mark is a result of one of two things. One, in this case, Izzy Video requires a username and password. It's a paid subscription-based podcast. It's a great podcast. I just haven't had the time to renew my membership. If any of you folks have an interest in videography, techniques for shooting video and capturing audio, etc., Izzy Video is a great paid podcast for you. The other reason you might get an exclamation mark is if you start to accumulate some podcasts and you're just not listening to them and clearing out the queue. iTunes will give you a prompt, the exclamation mark, as a warning, saying, "Hey, we've got a whole bunch of podcasts here that you're not listening to. Do you want to delete them? Do you want to listen to them?" It just draws your attention to that particular podcast. So that's about it, and I hope you enjoy your podcast, and thanks for watching.